Hi guys, James Sercu. Attempting teaching assignment 4. I have a bunch of willing souls who guard me regularly against heresy, so I'll go ahead and show them to you now. Whee! Sliding around. Hi everybody. Hello. Alright. Everybody dizzy? Good. Grand. Glad we had this talk. Let me straighten back out, and we'll go ahead and get started. Alright, so again, this is teaching assignment number 4. My Bible passage is Mark 10, 42 through 45. As a kid growing up, one of my favorite parts of the season, and I say season because I was involved in every sport on God's green earth. My favorite part of the season was the tournaments. Making sure that I was the best, finishing first, getting the biggest trophy, celebrating the hardest at the local pizza joint afterwards, right? There's something to be said in that victory, in that glory, in that edifying moment that to know all of your work was not for nothing, that all of your work came with a great reward. In life, we struggle very often in our everyday. We struggle in our what I call civilian jobs. I apologize, I'm former military. Our civilian jobs, in our religious experiences, including our efforts in ministry, our efforts in testimony, our efforts in loving each other. If we're totally honest, we want that immediate affirmation. Sometimes people give gifts because they feel better when they give to someone. And it's true. There is a great feeling in that. But just as often, we climb the corporate ladder because it feels good to have control over your own career and over the careers of others. Sometimes it feels great to have that power in your hand and wield it, to know that with one decision, you can change another person's life. Honestly, that's why most people get into politics. Not because they really care about the issues or because they care about a small demographic in a school district that they've never seen. They have lofty goals that involve making themselves larger than life. Why do I introduce all of this? Why am I bringing all this up? Well, because I think any Christian who looks critically at Scripture and looks critically at the words of Jesus will see that our focus should not be on such lofty goals as principal of a school, CEO of a company, President of the United States. Our goals should be to be the best citizen for heaven. Let me go ahead and read here the choice passage. It says, Jesus called them together and said, "You know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." God calls us to be servants. God calls us to give up our wants and our needs for others. God calls us to charity. God calls us to love. God calls us to be so much more than our personal ambitions. We seek rewards in life. We feel good when we're in charge, and we crave the feelings associated with being important. But does that really matter to God? God says, "Not so with you." Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. Those who hold political positions or are wealthy and hold some control over others seek glory and recognition in this world. But Jesus is calling us to be a humble offering to others as a reflection of him. So what do we do in response to this message? What do we do in response to the truth that God provides? Well, we can focus on being a blessing to others. We must offer everything to others with a humble attitude. If you look at the beginning of Acts, you see that the young church in Jerusalem pooled their resources. They gave up everything. They even went to such an extent that they would sell their extra land so that others may eat and so that others may be provided. They ate meals communally so that they could love on each other, so that they could serve each other, so that they could minister to each other. The early church was often accused of cannibalism and of eating specifically, now get this, eating specifically small children. You know why that is? Because the Christians cared enough to pluck orphans off the street and give them a home. Give them a place to lay their head. Give them a place to sit and eat a meal. A place to love, to be loved and to learn. A place where they could be accepted in a community. Think about where you can volunteer your time. Soup kitchens, food pantries, children's ministry, helping those who cannot help themselves, foster care, retirement villages. There's plenty of opportunities out there where we can be better servants of the servants of God, where we can better be a part of what God is doing in other people's lives. Be willing to put your wants aside so that others receive their needs. Everybody wants that new gadget, that new Samsung phone. Don't get the Note 7. It won't go well. But everybody wants that new tablet, that new technology that's coming out. Everybody watches the Home Shopping Network and says, ooh, I want a robot that I can control to clean my walls and my floors. Really? God's people can be better served by understanding where your money goes, where your money should go. Consider giving to charity. It's better to make sure that someone else has something instead of making sure that you have everything. Now, I say this from a vulnerable place in my heart. Those of you who know me well know that I've been historically a materialistic person. I've been one who has bought the extravagant item. I've been one who's sought after the latest and greatest in music technology as a worship leader and now worship pastor. I'm not ashamed of what I've done because I know what I can do now. Consider where that money goes. We also must remember that Jesus first gave everything for us. He ends this passage by saying, "For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many." If we are truly going to embody the Spirit of Christ, if we are going to truly put on the image of Christ and be Christ for others, we must willingly sacrifice our wants, our perceived needs, who we think we are, in light of what God can help us become. I had a few questions, a few discussion questions that I was asked to write down. I'm not going to cover them with you. I'll discuss them after the video, but I want to leave you with this. I know that I went a little bit off topic with my first teaching assignment because I spoke about David, but I'm going to bring him up again because there's a beautiful story of David. He's rejoicing God the King of Israel in the most lofty of places, in the highest position that young Israel has to offer. He is the earthly king, a representative of God to his people. He's been given everything because he has been faithful and been a man after God's own heart. And he goes into the street and cannot help but dance for God. Cannot help but strip down and show himself to God. Unashamedly, jumping up and down, screaming and singing and shouting for joy. What David realized in that moment was that a title is just a title. A title is just words. It's who you are in the sight of God that matters. So no matter where life takes you, whether you choose to take on the role of a CEO, whether you choose to fight for injustice by becoming a judge or a politician, whether you choose to stand in the pulpit and become the pastor of a revival, pastor of a great church, or a pastor of 10 people, it does not matter. The title means nothing. It is who you are in the sight of God's grace. And it is how well you wear the yoke that Christ has provided you. Be image bearers of Christ. Be slaves to all. Seek that reward in the kingdom